Awesome. I think we are live, man. Hey, I am Miles, also known as Mr. Most Days Off from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, which is my weekly Simpsons podcast. But I also love a lot of other things. And one of those things is Universal Studios, which I've got my buddy Bob, who is a theme park vlogger down in Orlando. And he's here to tell you to talk about Universal Studios. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? Miles, it's good to see and talk to you. So this is a new concept for me, just doing a whole live process, because I'm so used to, like, because that teleprompter in my brain just shuts off sometimes, and I'm like, I'll just edit that out later. That's so much easier. But we're live.
We'll just freeze on it. It's cool. We're both wrestling fans too. Like, we know, yeah. we're doing it live. This is live. But so you, sir, are living down in Orlando or nearby Orlando. You frequent the theme parks very often, but I imagine the last few months had to have been quite a culture shock for you. Like, how has that been in terms? I mean, obviously they shut down for a while, but now that they're reopening, tell us what that's like.
Well, it was kind of weird because I hate because we're talking about Universal, but you know, the leader, the grand poobah of them all is Disney. And the longest, some other mouse house company, but the longest they were ever closed was 2 days for, I think, one of the recent hurricanes, just like in the last 2 years or so. So when this hit and they said, yeah, we're going to close, and we're going to be closed until about, somewhere in May. And everyone was like, what? Especially the people who work there. Ooh, doggy, that's a whole different story. So, yeah, they're all dealing with it, like Universal, SeaWorld, Disney, Fun Spot, Gatorland, like big or small. They're all dealing with it. And it could get worse before it gets better. I don't...
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about that, though. I'm from Texas and you're from Florida, and it seems like our states are just like trying to like have like a dick measuring contest of who can like ruin COVID the worst or make COVID the worst. It's like, no, our COVID's bigger than your COVID.
Oh, yeah, well, our COVID's so bad, we're going to shut down all of our bars now.
Yeah, that happened today, 100%, because that's totally like, you know, trying to put a Band-Aid on like a gaping wound. But hey, we're here to have fun and talk about theme parks. So I've seen some of your more recent videos. You've got masks on. It seems like everybody's got masks on, which is good to see. Very cool. Is that a requirement down there now, or is that just a choice that most people are making?
Well, Universal is requiring everybody to wear a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. And if you have like certain criteria where you have trouble breathing, they give you like a green paper wristband or something, and you just need a face covering. But they want this like muffled. They want it covered. They don't want to see nose, mouth, teeth. They don't want to see any of that.
Sure. Which is just kind of interesting to think about, because one of the things that makes Universal Studios for me, I love theme parks in general, but I would say Universal Studios is my favorite of the ones that I've been to. And one of the things that makes them so special is the theming that they go through with everything from like the sets, but also the employees there. They're actors, man. They're like part of the show. They're not just there to like tell you which way the restroom is. They're there to like make fun of your muggle clothing as like they point you in the direction of like the muggle washroom or whatever.
Yeah, especially like you were calling it, the muggles. If you're anywhere around the 2 Harry Potter areas at Universal and you ask, where's the restroom? And like, oh, you mean the loo or the water closet? Yes, it's right over there past the night bus. Just jolly on. Cheerio. Go. Get out of here.
Yeah. And that makes it like so much more immersive and so much more fun.
Oh, yeah. And because it is Universal, yes, they are customer service, I guess you would call it. But at the same time, they don't have to be as nice as the other big park in town. They won't tell you off to your face, but they'll throw an insult at you at the same time.
And I love that. Like, I like it when you get like the little jabs and whatnot. And let's be real, I know that sometimes they'll throw jabs at the mouse house, which is also a lot of fun. I love it when you get those little punches.
Yeah, the little trade-offs, because Disney's never going to fire back. It's like, okay, sure. But Universal, matter of fact, one of my favorite attractions at Universal is the horror makeup show. It's been there since day one.
I love that show.
And one of the jokes that they do, they've modified it because this is one of those shows that they update it throughout times. Like they throw in more modern day jokes and whatever. But one that always remains is like they'll point at a kid in the audience and they'll say something along the lines of, this isn't Disney. I don't have to be nice to you. I could be mean as hell.
It's almost like Dick's Last Resort. I don't know. You guys have those down there, I think, where like the servers are intentionally rude to you, but they're still like serving you, but like in a really dicky sort of manner.
We don't have any around here, but I do know of them. I went to one in Boston, and that was experience to live through. Like, what do you want? It's like, I just want a sandwich, man. All right, fine. What do you want on it? This is the kind of day we're gonna have now, huh?
Get your own damn ketchup. Uh-oh. You're going in ghost mode on my screen. Not sure if that's good or not.
You froze up a hair for me as well. But I
think we're good. Okay. It's all good.
Technology.
All right. So I do want to dive. Yeah, exactly. Glad I love the internet. I do want to talk more about Universal specifically, and maybe we will right now. But before we go any further on that, what is your favorite theme park that you have ever personally been to?
Epcot is up there for me. That's one
hard
of my
hitting
favorite
questions
places.
Here.
I know. Epcot's always been like one of, if not the top park for me, because you can drink heavily there. They don't give a damn. If you drink too much, you'll be like, all right, sir, why don't you go on out and stop by Canada on the way and get another beer. But Universal Universal's also a park that it's has like a connection with me that I've always had for the longest of times, because when my parents separated, my mom moved up to Orlando and I would come and visit her. So while she's working, she was doing wardrobe and makeup and whatever for whatever show she was working on at that time. And for the longest time, the three shows she worked on there were the Adventures of Lewis and Clark, Swamp Thing the series, and Slime Time Live for Nickelodeon. So,
oh my god, I love Nickelodeon in general, but I remember Slime Time Live from when I was a kid.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I would come up to visit her like during my spring break or something. She would take me to the parking lot at like 4 a.m. so she can start her work day. I'd fall asleep, and then about 6 o'clock, I'd make my way over to her, and she's like, "Okay, I'll walk you over to the park," and I would literally walk Universal all day long until like 7, 8, 9, whatever the park closed, and I would come backstage, and she still, because it's film, you work all day long. Mm-hmm. And I would go backstage and I get to meet like all these people who are like in the middle of production. That's where I fell in love with like production work. It's like, oh wow, look at all this going on. I mean, I even at that age, I understood Swamp Thing is not exactly a high budget, but at the same time, it was so cool to be there. And I tried to get it. It's somewhere in my archive somewhere, but I have a latex mask from Swamp Thing, the series that Dick Durock wore on the show.
Oh, cool.
And he gave us like 3 or 4 of them because they were going to get through, because they can only wear them like 1 or 2 times. And then they have to,
have to throw them away.
Yeah, because they just fall apart.
Yeah, sure.
I wish
that's really cool though. And like, I imagine it's funny because I would imagine like something like that when you're on set is actually going to show off how even more low budget it really is.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, these people are wizards of making it look like they've got like $1 million mask, but it's like, that came from Screams, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Spirit.
Another example was when she was working on Sequest for NBC. They were shooting that at Universal. And I remember walking around the little set where I guess like the engineering room where the dolphin pops up and everything. And I was just walking around, and they had like this analog clock. And I realized that clock never changes time. It's always like 5:15 all the time.
That's awesome. And those are actually being produced on the lot?
Yeah. Back when Orlando was known as Hollywood East, they actually had sound stages and they did real production work.
Yeah, you already brought it up, but one of like the biggest losses I would say that we've had at Universal Studios was Nickelodeon Studios. Like when I was a kid, that was the mecca. Like that was like where like every time you watched any of the game shows or any of the live shows, always like this show is filmed live at Universal Studios, and they'd show like the slime pump out front and the zebra staircase, and like you're just having like. It was like the place you wanted to be. And sadly, I never got to visit Nick Studios when I was a kid. I didn't visit Universal Studios until long after it was turned into the Blue Man Group soundstage.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Bummer.
And watching like those little ID cuts was like filmed at Universal Studios for Nickelodeon, or like at the end of Swamp Things, like filmed at Universal Studios, and you see the Florida logo. And I was like, I'd always get like a little bit of a chill up my spine. I was like, ooh, yeah. I was there. That was cool. That was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a neat, like those are those types of things that if you experience them, it's such a unique, like, I mean, that's something that you might find yourself on like a Reddit AMA one day of like, hey, I was on the set of Swamp Thing. Ask me anything. I'm nerdy enough that I follow like I was a contestant on Legends of the Hidden Temple. Ask me anything.
Oh my God.
Cool. I have questions for you. We could talk about that. We should talk about that on this show, actually. That'll be a future date. But back to Universal Studios, you already mentioned one of my favorite things about the park, and that is that they sell alcohol there, dude.
Oh, God.
And I was surprised to find that they actually have what I would say are like an expensive bar price system, not like a concert pricing system. Like at least when I was there, I haven't been there in 5 years, and it was 10 years or another 5 before that. But like I've still got my Universal Pilsner there, and my personal favorite that I'm currently drinking out of from Moe's Tavern in Springfield. I think you've got the Flaming Moe over there that you can also get.
I got a couple to show you.
But the whole idea there that, I mean, to me, they could charge an arm and a leg for beer there and people would pay for it, but I don't recall it being exceptionally expensive.
I remember this. What is this? I'm going to guess this is like a 10-ounce mug. You can either get like a pint in like a regular fuck you glass, or you can get the souvenir mug. And this, I think, cost me $13 with the beer. Non-refillable, of course.
See, when I was there, this had a deal. It was similar, but you got like a really cheap discount on refills, and it was good at both Moe's and outside at Duff Gardens.
Oh.
And when I was there too, they also had a specialty beer. They always have Duff on draft, which I think is just like it's like a Miller Lite, Bud Light type of like American Pilsner beer, I guess. But they had a Dufftober, like it was like an Oktoberfest beer when I was there last time, and that was amazing.
That might have been a seasonal thing. Now, the rumor is that when when the Springfield area first opened and they introduced Duff beer, it was brewed by, well, at first it was going to be brewed by this local Florida brewery. I think it's called Florida Beer. But it wasn't available like at launch day. So like the first couple of months they sold Duff beer, but in reality it was Yingling.
I've never even heard of Yingling.
Oh, it's a big name brand in like Milwaukee. It's one of the big Milwaukee beers.
Interesting. Yeah. So one of the things that I commonly get asked, and first of all, let me just say, I absolutely love the Springfield setup there. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, like you walk in, you can go to Krusty Land, you can go to Moe's. They've got Bumblebee Man's taco truck. They've got the donut shop with Wiggum. It's a really cool layout. It's very immersive. But arguably, my favorite show replaced my favorite movies ride, because I was I still am to this day such a fan of Back to the Future. And while I understand that ride was getting a bit dated at the time that they replaced it, like that ride was still so cool. So for me, that's like, I mean, it's both a blessing and a curse, but I say all that more or less to ask you, first of all, which did you prefer, Back to the Future or the Simpsons area? And what is your favorite ride that is no longer at Universal?
Ooh, okay. All right. First question. Universal or Back to the Future? I loved Back to the Future up until its last year or so, because then they really let the hydraulics go on that attraction. They knew it was on its way out. So it was like, all right, we're just going to cut costs and maintenance. So there was a few times my head slammed in the back of that seat. They did it once it moved over to The Simpsons. They improved it and made it a little more smoother and everything. I don't know. There's pros and cons to both. I guess the Simpsons version I like better because it also introduced all of Springfield in that general area instead of just here's Back to the Future.
It used to just be like a warehouse, and when you're inside, it was pretty good theming. Like they had a lot of cool stuff of like the Institute of Technology or whatever it was that was helping Doc Brown. And I love that still in the line for the Simpsons ride, they actually have they like kill Doc Brown like with a DeLorean, I think, in it, if I remember correctly. They reference it for sure.
Yeah, there's like this financial guy who's going to buy the Institute from Doc Brown to like financially save the whole company and whatever. And Professor Frink in the DeLorean comes from the future or something and runs over the financier and kills him. Like, that's it. Now I got to sell to that maniacal clown.
Yeah, perfect. I love that they at least pay homage in a very Simpsons way to what they replaced. And they still have the DeLorean, they still have the train, so there's still some Back to the Future representation.
Yeah, the ELB train is the actual prop one from the movie. The DeLorean, that's a rebuild. That wasn't part of the movie, but because I think, and it was recently done, like within the last couple of months, they just brought in a new chassis and just dressed it up. It's like, all right, here's the time traveling DeLorean. Yeah, okay, buddy, sure.
Cool. So what was your favorite attraction now that has been replaced? And so many have gone by the wayside.
Yeah,
they could have a graveyard.
Do not get attached to rides at Universal. The fact that there's only 2 opening day attractions still there.
E.T. is one of them.
E.T.?
What's the other one?
The other one is it's not a ride. It's the horror makeup show. That's gone through a number of changes throughout the years to keep it up to date. So I'm not sure if that counts because it's definitely not the same. I think that
counts. It's got a new fresh coat of paint, but it hasn't been like completely redone. So I say we should give it credit.
Okay. Yeah. E.T. that hasn't changed at all.
Counts. Yeah. E.T. is actually like that one's like, it's not necessarily the greatest ride, but like I really love walking through the line of that ride.
Yes.
Where you're going through like the forest and you get, again, it's all about like the immersion and the storytelling at Universal Studios, which I absolutely love. Even on attractions in like, say, like the Dr. Seuss land, which I'm not like a huge Dr. Seuss fan, but it's still really cool when you're like going through the world of Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
and that's probably intriguing. One of the properties that I'm like least excited about. So all the other areas that they do, you know, it's real easy to get excited. I've even recently realized through watching other theme park YouTube channels like Theme Park History, Defunctland, things like that, that they actually have a company, or there is a company that sells scented candles that are like scented to be like the ride line of ET. It's specifically designed to smell like it smells when you're walking through the line of ET, which is crazy to me that like they've tried to get that specific with scents. You still haven't answered my question because I keep rambling.
No. About what my favorite attraction is?
That's been replaced.
That's been replaced.
That you missed the most.
I'm gonna say this one counts, and I have a glass for it. So, and it's Confrontation.
Oh,
the original dude. Confrontation. King Kong is back at Islands of Adventure now, is part of the Jurassic Park area, and it's a completely different attraction. The old one was you're in like this New York Roosevelt Island, I think it is, elevated subway system, and you're just going through the city streets, and you see King Kong just jump up. And I think it was a record for the largest audio animatronic of all time, and they had like 3 of them in the attraction. And the cool thing was there was a couple of really neat things. You're going through it, and the storyline is at the very end, like Kong grabs your train and then he throws it, and you do like this gentle little dive, whatever. They would, for the final Kong where he's like got his face right up against the train, they had banana flavored spray scents shooting at you. And they would sometimes dress up Kong for certain events. Like for Christmas, they put him in a giant
that's cool.
Santa hat. And the year that the Orlando Magic were in the championship series, he wore a gigantic white T-shirt and said "Go Magic" on it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Dude. I did not know about the dressing him up part of that. That's interesting. There's actually a really cool YouTube video that it's a like hour-long video that talks about the entire design process of Confrontation, and it does an in-depth interview with the guy that created that animatronic. It's really, really interesting stuff. I'll send you a link on that later. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you'll probably be able to correct me on this, but I believe that the Mummy roller coaster actually replaced Confrontation over at the original park.
Yep.
And I think they now pay homage to that banana breath in the Minions ride over at Islands of Adventure. Don't they spray you with the banana gun when you're waiting in the line for that one? I thought that was what I had read. Like, I definitely remember when you're waiting in line, the Minions like hit you with some sort of ray. And I want to say it was a banana ray. And I read that it was the same scent that they had originally used as Kong's breath over at the other park.
I can tell you that during the pre-show queue, there is like a little movie where they turn you into a minion, and the problem they hit you with a fart spray or a fart gun.
Is that fart gun?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it smell like banana? Am I just tripping?
I usually plug my nose.
Again, it's been 5 years.
I haven't done it in a little while, and I think the last 4 or 5 times I've plugged my nose. Like, I don't even want to take the chance because
I got you.
They do something very similar at Epcot for the Journey into Imagination, where they hit you with skunk smell, and it's not foul, but it's still unpleasant, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah, that's a good choice, dude. That's a really epic ride. And so the last time I was at Universal, they were building Confrontation over at the Jurassic Park area. I think it's interesting now they're building the new Velociraptor coaster in the same area. But before we get into the future attractions, what is that Kong attraction like nowadays? How does it hold up to the original?
It's definitely not the same. You can't compare the two, because the old one was you're in a car and you're moving around, and there's actual animatronics, there's explosions, there's sound effects, there's everything going on. The new one is you get in a van, you turn a corner, and there's video screens. You turn another corner, there's video screens. You turn one last corner. Oh, there's Kong right there as a giant animatronic. Not as big as the previous one, but it's still, it's impressive to look at. And you get literally right up against the truck.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of the rides, and I mean, just through being there a couple times in the past, like it seems like Universal definitely has a screen mentality when it comes to rides a lot of the time, because to its credit, I love the Transformers ride, but it's all screens. I love the Spider-Man ride, but it's all screens. I love both Harry Potter rides, and to be fair, they're more half and half. Especially my favorite attraction there is the Forbidden Journey attraction, the original Harry Potter attraction. I love that ride. I think it's fantastic, and you kind of transfer from screen to like real life prop to screen to real life prop, but it does seem like they're doing a lot with screens, and I've heard that possibly the worst case of this has been with Fast and the Furious.
No doubt, without any question. This is no hyperbole whatsoever. That is the worst attraction I have ever. Give me like Hall of Presidents 50 times in a row before I do.
Oh, wow.
Because the acting is bad, the animation is bad, the rendering is terrible, the story makes absolutely no sense. So I guess it's just like the movies. Jab there.
See, I was actually going to ask, are you a fan of the movies? Like, do you enjoy watching the films?
I've seen the first one, and the rest are like generic action racing movie. I understand a lot of people love it, and that is the one thing about the Fast and Furious attraction is the queue line itself has so many Easter eggs that when I was making my way through the line, I was like, okay, that was great detail. This is great detail. Like. You pass by a collection of keys that the Vin Diesel has won throughout races, and you see like Scooby-Doo's van, you see the DeLorean, you see the A-Team's van, and it's like all these little Easter eggs all over the place. And there's like a couple of power breakers, like those giant metal things that turn the power on and off. There are 2 that are down and 1 that is up, and they have like abbreviations where if you read it carefully, one of them is Earthquake, which was the original attraction there, and the other one was Disaster, which replaced Earthquake, and now Fast and the Furious, that's the one with the power on. So I was like, that's cute. That's a great touch.
That is fun.
Yeah.
I have heard the queue is good. I am a fan of those movies personally. Again, you're not wrong. They're super generic action films, but they're a good time. Like they're a fun ride. But I've heard that even from like super fans of the series that was just handled so poorly. And another part of it is that they replaced a ride that a lot of people had a lot of love for. That Disaster motion picture, two rides.
Two
really.
attractions, yeah.
I was not familiar with the Earthquake ride. I understand its premise based on the movie Earthquake, and it still featured the tram sequence, I understand. But when they turned it into the Disaster, the movie starring you, it still to this day has like a cult following online.
That was a lot of fun. That attraction was, first off, you have Christopher Walken is playing like this, like Michael Bay
director.
Yeah, this crazy director who makes all these disaster movies. And he's there as like a holographic projection. And they do some pretty cool things. Like he wads up a piece of paper and he throws it, and they like shoot like out of a pneumatic a little wad of paper into a guy's hand. He catches it and throws it. The live actor who's there catches it and throws it away. So I was like, okay, nice touch. And then The Rock makes an appearance like during the special thing. It was really cool.
This was before The Rock was like The Rock. He was The Rock from wrestling, but not like The Rock he is today. But it's amazing to see him pop up in that.
Yeah, he was definitely The Rock and not Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
Rock the Dwayne Johnson. I like that. That's how I should go from now on. It's crazy to me, dude. I watched that guy's wrestling debut back in the 90s, and then like 2 years ago, he was the highest grossing paid actor in like the world. And it's just like, that guy, the guy that came out to a chorus of boos.
Yeah.
But man, he figured it out. Good for him.
Yeah, John Cena's going to be there actor. Soon. You know it.
I wouldn't doubt it, honestly. I wouldn't doubt it. He seems to be on the same trajectory to, at least to some extent. And wrestling's dead. So, if it isn't, it has COVID. So what is your current favorite ride at Universal Studios?
It's always been Men in Black. Don't even have to think about it. Men in Black. Men in Black every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Men in Black is so much fun. And I always try to up my score a little bit more. And I think my highest score of all time was like 350,000. And I want to beat that plateau one day. Well, I was going crazy with the guns. Like, and I discovered like all the secret spots that give you extra points. And
you've been on rough estimate. How many times have you ridden that ride?
Oh, so many, because especially if you do single rider, you can go from straight in, depending on what kind of day it is. If it's like a normal day where I go, where it's dead, you go on single rider, you walk in, you walk on, you strap in, you shoot, you walk out, you go right back in again. You could do 3 laps on the ride in about 45 minutes.
Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, that's a lot of rotations. You and I honestly, I forgot we talked about this before, because I have to say, to me, Men in Black feels like one of the most dated rides that I experienced.
Oh, without a doubt.
But like at the same time, I just made a comment about how there's so many screen rides, and that's not one of them. It's all props. It's all puppets. It's all like actual things that you can interact with that you're, laser zapping for a high score over there.
Yeah.
But like when I was thinking about like which rides would if I had to choose a ride to get replaced, what would it be to add a new property? Men in Black was one that I was contending with. Like that was one that jumped in my head. I'm bummed about Terminator, but I'm also not surprised that was the most recent one to get cut.
Terminator, I'm not surprised that one lasted as long as it did, because when it comes to financial money spent versus airtime, that was the most expensive movie ever made.
Yeah,
only about 13 minutes long, and it costs about as much as a blockbuster does now. So yeah.
Well, they had James Cameron actually come back and direct it. Like that's pretty crazy.
I consider a better Terminator 3 than Terminator 3.
Honestly, that's true. Terminator 3 is pretty bad, though. Like, that's a pretty low bar. But I like the Terminator ride a lot. And frankly, I haven't seen it, so I should reserve judgment. But I'm super just not excited at all about that property getting replaced with the Bourne Identity. Like, that's not an even swap, in my opinion.
I've seen good, I've seen bad reviews. I haven't been on it myself. Because right now they're still in like the pre-launch phase where hey, we're in the technical testing phase. If you want to see it, you're gonna see some errors probably, and we might even stop down to fix a technical issue one or two. So,
and you'd rather just wait so you can have the full experience.
I kind of want to see the technical run just to see how it goes. But I am interested to see how the change goes. I've heard some negative things that I'm hoping that won't sway my decision. I'm going to try and go in with a completely clean slate and just, all right, what you got? What's going on here?
Yeah, I guess that would be interesting, especially from your perspective. And I don't know what the rules are in terms of if you would be able to capture any footage for your channel or anything like that. Be really off the record. I don't know, man. You could slip it in. You just have to be real. Have a giant Texas hat or cowboy hat like Homer does when he's trying to do the sting operation on a poo.
No.
Nope. You're gonna see a show.
Hold on.
You dying over there?
I breathed some of that in. Sorry.
That's not how it works.
Sometimes it does. the best way it works. Yeah, there's been they literally say, hey guys, don't take any photos, don't take any video, and I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of shame on Twitter saying, hey, don't, if somebody posts a photo from the attraction, people jump all over it. And I don't want to be one of those guys. If they say don't record, I'm not going to record. I used to not do that. I
wasn't going to call you out. I was curious though, because I could have sworn I've seen you take some pretty candid shots before.
Yeah, there were a few times I recorded and I wasn't sure, but usually if they say do not record, it's like, all right, you made your case.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, on the horror makeup show, they literally said, go ahead, take photos, record if you want, just like turn off the flash, turn off your noise. We don't. And that was really cool because when I went and did that recently, they brought back Beetlejuice, which,
oh, cool.
But he's part of the pre-show entertainment. It's like he's welcoming people in, he's telling jokes, and he's doing stand-up routine and all that. Matter of fact, at one part, I actually captured on video. He turns to one guy in the audience who's got the mask down by his neck. He's like, sir, I can see your face. And yeah, thank you. And the guy starts pulling out. And it's not because of the virus. I just don't want to see your face. That's all.
Yeah, that's all, dude. Like, so that kind of touches on something we've talked about, like the attractions that have replaced some attractions, and we've talked about how much we love Harry Potter. At least I've said that. I love the Harry Potter sections of the park. Those are literally the main reasons I went to the park both times. I mean, the real reason is Halloween Horror Nights, which is my absolute favorite thing that happens at Universal Studios. Yep. Love it. But Harry Potter was also a huge draw. But Harry Potter killed some really cool stuff. I mean, like the big one obviously is Jaws. Like it killed the whole like Amityville section of the park. But it also killed the Beetlejuice Graveyard Review, which was arguably one of like the best shows there. Or is that Fast and the Furious?
Fast and the Furious killed it.
Oh, that's even worse, dude.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people were pissed off at Fast and the Furious.
So Harry Potter just killed Jaws?
Let me think. Just Jaws. On the Universal side, yeah.
It kind of killed the Dueling Dragons. It did purpose them, because it used to be like the Merlin's Fire and Ice Dragon, if I remember right, which was right next to the like Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, they used to, the Lost Continent area of islands had an attraction called Dueling Dragons, and the thing is that they would take off at the same time, and at some point in the ride, they would almost intersect into each other, and they would do like this looping curl right at the same time with each other. And then they got sued because one guy's foot hit another guy's foot. And like, all right, we can't do that anymore.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah. So when Harry
Was
Potter,
it just like two exceptionally tall people?
like a couple NBA players, I guess. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
But when what was it? When Hogsmeade got built in that area, they took over like a good chunk of the Lost Continent, including Dueling Dragons. So then, they just incorporated that into Harry Potter, and then they like a year ago, was it a year ago? Maybe a year and a half ago, they tore it down. It's like, all right, we need a new attraction. This thing is breaking down a lot. It's kind of a financial hassle. And then they built probably one of my favorite roller coasters of all time, and that would be the Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure.
Favorite roller coasters of all time. That's a statement right there, my friend.
Right up there with Big Thunder Mountain and the Mummy. So yes.
Okay. I've ridden both of those. I've ridden Big Thunder and I've ridden the Mummy. I love the Mummy. I would say, though, my favorite roller coaster at Universal is probably the Hulk ride. But it seems like that's not as much about theming as it is about just like a really good roller coaster. Is it the theming that you like about Hagrid's Motorbike, or is it the coaster itself? Like, talk about that ride a little bit.
I've only done Hagrid's once, and I guess I love it so much because it's the only Harry Potter attraction I can actually physically ride. The other two, I'm too big for. The seats are way too small.
Oh, no. So you haven't ridden Forbidden Journey?
Nope. I've got to lose like 100 pounds if I'm ever going to get on that thing. It's made for kids.
We need to work on that journey so you can experience that. The Wizard Loser or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Garden Leviosa, this shit.
There you go. Yeah, there should be a spell for that, frankly. You're actually not the only friend I have that has had that same issue. So that's something that Universal really, maybe it's because of how that is a new ride technology with that like swinging arm thing that they have, but you would think that they would want to accommodate, more guests, because we know that Harry Potter fans come in all shapes and sizes and ages.
Yeah, it's a particular make of that ride system. They did both parks ride systems, and they just said, if you're fat, fuck you. And it's not so much like down here, it's all up here that won't work. Like if you got like, I have wide shoulders and a barrel chest, and the thing will not go over my shoulders. So that's why
you're built like Bluto from the Popeye ride.
Yeah.
You can definitely ride Bluto's barges all day.
Yes, I can't get on the ride. I'm too goddamn fat.
Hey, you know what? On a hot day, Bluto's barges slaps. That's a good ass water ride.
Yes.
If you are needing to cool off, you are guaranteed to get soaked.
Those particular rides, I don't know what, like the raft rides, I guess is the best way to call them. That between that, there's one in let's see, Busch Gardens has one called Congo, and one at what is it, Animal Kingdom. That one's god awful. It's terrible. But Bluto's bilge, the name escapes me, but the
I think it's Bluto's barges, if I'm not.
Yeah, that
there's something like that.
It's something like that. Yeah, that is the very best raft ride I have ever been on, and you will get wet on that sucker. That's a guarantee. Yeah.
So, but it's good if you're, like I said, needing to cool off. But I have not had the chance to experience Hagrid's motorbike ride yet. Tell us a little bit about that in general, because I know very little, frankly.
Well, basically, the stars of this one are obviously Hagrid and the father of the Weasley children.
Oh God,
Mr.
not Ron.
Weasley. That's what we'll call him.
Why don't I know? I know his name. It'll come.
Yeah, to me. I could name like all the kids. I can't name the dad, but he's like experimenting with this new kind of dragon fuel, and he's using, because he experiments on the flying car, he experiments on Hagrid's flying motorcycle, and it's really cool because the queue area, as you're walking through, the ceiling has like this parchment almost, where you could see motorcycles. It's actually just lights going around and around, and you could see what sounds like motorcycles going around above your head. It's really cool. They do some of the screen technology during the queue, but once you're on the ride, it's all animatronics, and it's a really awesome ride. It has a lot of high speeds, tight turns. It doesn't do anything inverted. And I remember I had watched like a ride on before I went on, and as soon as I sat down, my memory went completely blank. It's like, oh yeah, because there's I don't know if do you want me to tell you parts of the ride? There's like one big thing.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
So there's a lot of parts where the ride just launches. It takes off down a straightaway, and that's where you hit like the really high speeds. And it comes up this one ramp, and you're thinking from your perspective that the ramp is going to loop down. So you're going to go up and then back down really fast, really steep. But you get all the way up there, and then you freeze because you can't see the other side of the ramp. And then you start going backwards. And then you're racing backwards almost as fast. And then the track shifts. So you're going down this new path. And you're going through all these things. And you're looking at like all these magical creatures that Hagrid has raised, like this fire-breathing, farting scorpion type deal about the size of a bull. It's weird looking.
I've heard that the tracks are really cool. Though,
they are. Ride. Yeah, they're really, really cool. And then you go into this cave and the entire track drops, like vertical drop, straight down a good 15 feet. I had no idea this was coming. The drop came out of nowhere, and then we take off again. And this time, at this point, my mind is like gone. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just taking everything in at this point.
So it almost seems like they're like adding new elements that are not really. It's less of a traditional roller coaster, even though it's still a roller coaster. But it's definitely not like I would say that the Dueling Dragons roller coaster compared to the Hulk roller coaster, and that they were traditional roller coasters with theming. Yep. But this sounds like it's almost like a little bit more on par with which again, you may have ridden it, but the Gringotts Escape from Gringotts ride, where it's technically a roller coaster, but you're interacting with like so much like story and theming elements that it's, in a way, it's almost like a adrenaline junkie flat ride.
It's kind of like I don't want to compare Gringotts to the Mummy, because the Mummy, you're sitting in a car and you're going at high speeds, down hills, up hills, tight curves, and you're going around so fast that like these things pass you by. You're like, whoa, okay, what was that? Oh, okay. You can't really take anything in. And I still love the Mummy, but Gringotts is kind of like, we're flying around this corner, and their perspective by how fast you're going and the video screens, it make it seem like you're going a lot faster and a lot more places than in reality.
Than you actually are. Yeah. You're actually spending a lot more time on one small piece of track that's like turning.
Yeah.
Again, Universal loves its screens, man. Yeah. Like it is what it is. Like there's some really good screen rides though. Like again, I've my favorite ride there is the Forbidden Journey, and it's half screen ride. So, but yeah. I guess I want to talk a little bit about the Jurassic Park section of the park as well, because that's been one that's kind of had an interesting history, and that it started so long ago. I mean, like it came out, I want to say it launched with the first movie, like the original one in 1993 or right thereafter. But it's gone through tons of renovations, and now it's actually a lot more themed to Jurassic World than it is to Jurassic Park.
The one in Hollywood definitely is. They've actually renamed it Jurassic World, the ride. The one here in Orlando is still Jurassic Park, the ride, and it's changed very little, but the theory is that with this shutdown we just went through, everyone was thinking it's going to reopen as Jurassic World, the ride, but they never went that route, I guess. Because the big difference between the two is Jurassic World, the ride, has like another area where you're looking at screens, and you're like in this water tank, and like this the big gator dinosaur, whatever it's called, is swimming around. He's splashing his tail in some water, flips up at you, and it's cool. The rest of it is pretty much the same, where you go into the raptor encounter, and the T-Rex comes out, he roars at you, and you go down the slide.
The big drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole boat ride. So I guess the ride itself hadn't changed a lot, but I went to Universal Studios, I don't remember exactly when, sometime in the late 90s, and they had Jurassic Park there. They had the Triceratops encounter. They had the Discovery Center where you could actually go and like there was like interactive games that you could learn.
Yeah.
And then like when I went 10 years ago, it had changed significantly with a lot of like those interactive elements having changed significantly. The ride still stayed the same. But then I could have sworn 5 years ago, to me, it felt a lot more like they were bringing in more and more elements from the Jurassic World movies. Like they had a meet and greet with Blue, the Velociraptor, which was a lot more animated than the Triceratops encounter, which my understanding is they basically let rot away, just back, like closed off the section and just let that animatronic just rot to nothingness is what I understand happened.
Yeah, that's exactly. I've seen the photos of it. Just like urban explorers getting back there, and they're showing the animatronic just sitting there, and it's like it's exoskeleton.
Yeah, it's creepy looking, honestly. That's actually something else I really enjoy. And we talked a little bit about like you respecting the rules of the park and whatnot. But like you mentioned urban explorers. I love watching those videos where people sneak into old parts of the park that they're not supposed to be in, or like showing like what like, Disney is actually really bad about just letting parts of their park just literally get taken over by nature. They just like, we don't want it. You can have it. We'll come back for it later.
Yeah, Discovery Island.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Has that ever been something that you've been personally interested in pursuing, or is there any part of your vlogging that you enjoy based on that type of thing? Or describe your channel a little bit, I guess, compared to that.
My channel does do a lot of theme park stuff, but I want to display more of slice of Florida life. I've done like a winter park boat tour recently. I saw
that one. Yeah.
I've tried to do, I did Lou Gardens, which is a really big nature preserve here in the Orlando area. Cause it was free. I think it's still free as of right now. Usually there's like a cover charge, but yeah, I still do the theme parks. Now, would I ever do the backstage stuff? No, I have no problem watching that stuff because it's actually, like you said yourself, it's entertaining to watch. Like, that's what goes on back there. I don't want to do it because I don't want to get banned for life. I saw what happened to Adam the Who.
That happen a lot.
Yeah, Adam the Who.
Oh yeah, I watch Adam.
He posted something on Twitter. It's like, hey, I'm going to Hollywood Studios. If anybody wants to meet and greet. And on his way in, like Disney security was right there. It's like, come with me. They took him to a back room. They signed a little paper, gave it to him, and said, all right, you are now banned from life from Disney property.
Oh, yeah, that's a big punishment. I mean, especially for somebody like yourself that goes so often to the parks.
Yeah, that's not a price I'm willing to pay.
Totally fair. Yeah, totally fair. And it's fun. I've watched a lot of Adam the Woo's videos. He actually did a great one like a decade ago at this point. It's probably not there anymore, but the video probably is, but the stuff isn't. But he actually went into the closed down side of Nickelodeon Studios when it was the Blue Man's group. Apparently the Blue Man group was only using like half of the building. So like half of the other half was just like left abandoned, still with like Nickelodeon props and Nickelodeon cameras and just all sorts of stuff like that. So it's just interesting though that, I do like seeing that, but yeah, you're right. That's a big, big risk for a very small reward, especially when somebody else is going to take care of it for you.
Yeah. Because my mom worked there. I've been in that area that Adam was walking around. And I was like, oh, he's going in the control room. I was like, oh, cool. He's going into like the green room. Cool. And I was like, wow, this technology is really freaking old compared to today.
Really
that
old.
They had in there, like the old CRTs and everything. And I was amazed. Like, yeah, they didn't repaint anything. They just left it as is and just walked out the door.
There's still like Nickelodeon characters painted on the wall.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole mural dedicated to Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah. From what I've been told, that's all gone now or been repainted and they're using it as office space now.
I would have requested if I had an office there, I'd like, can I keep the Ren and Stimpy on the wall? Like that's going to help me focus when I'm talking to clients.
They probably didn't have the rights anymore to
yeah, you're probably
that.
Right. Yeah, so I wanted you to make sure we only have about 10 minutes left. I wanted to make sure you got to plug your channel, but I now want to go back and talk about the Velociraptor attraction that's going on at Universal. What's it like I've seen some videos, I've seen the blueprints of the track layout. What is your impression of that? And what do you think, what do you think we should expect from that ride?
I've seen the track myself. It looks like it's going to be intense. I don't remember if I saw any inversion, but only half of I'd say like 2/3 of the track looks like it's installed. Now, when you first said Velociraptor, I was thinking of the Velociraptor encounter, which is a meet and greet where you can actually meet. At first, it was like you were just saying, it was Blue the Velociraptor, but now it's like a whole little show presentation where, where Blue comes out. You sit in an audience, Blue comes out, and they like a trainer was like, hey, and we train him how to do this, and we do this. I haven't seen it yet. I just walked by. I was like, oh, that's new. Huh, cool. But, oh, look at this roller coaster coming in. Neat.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm kind of wondering is, do you think they're going to take a cue from Hagrid, and is it going to be more of a show style of ride, or do you think it'll be more of like the Hulk, or it'll be like a more traditional style roller coaster?
If I had to put my money on it, I would say it'd be more traditional rock and roller coaster, or not rock and roller coaster. I just realized that
the Rip Rocket. Yeah, the Rip Ride Rocket.
Yeah, it's going to be more traditional coaster, although they could do something, I don't know what, but they could do something crazy, and it's like Velociraptor jumps at you. I don't know. It jumps on your car.
I was wondering if they wouldn't maybe have a section where you're going through like tunnel of screens, and like there, you would be like running with the Velociraptors going with you. It'd be something that I could see fitting into like that would be my understanding too, similar to what they did with the King Kong ride in Hollywood, where you were actually like going through the tram and like King Kong was like running beside you, all around you in like a 360-degree screen or whatever.
Right.
I think they could do something very similar with the track on the roller coaster, but it would be Velociraptor related.
Yeah, I think they're still a ways away from building it. I haven't seen like any kind of tunnel system being built or anything, but you know, they could always, I mean, they're building Tron over at Tomorrowland, and that's going to be all under an overhang as well. So you never know. It's possible.
Oh, wait, they're building Tron over there, you said?
Yeah, the same one they have in Singapore. They're building the same thing right next to Space Mountain.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. That sounds cool. You know, going slightly off topic for a second, back to the Mouse House. I've heard that like real theme park fans say like pretty decisively the best theme park in the world is Disney Sea in Japan. Have you ever heard of this or visited or know anything extra about this?
That's on my bucket list. I definitely want to go, not only as like a theme park fan, but also as a fan of Disney Sea, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. I definitely want to go just for that.
Is that what that park is based off of?
There's some heavy theming there. If people who know of the Adventurers Club, that the Adventurers Club pretty much predated the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, where it basically like birthed off of the death, like the phoenix rising from the ashes kind of deal.
Wasn't that, it was like in the old Disney like Paradise Pier area where it was like bars and restaurants and bowling alleys and skating rinks and
Pleasure Island.
There was all these like Pleasure Island, and there was all these like monuments or like plaques dedicated to these adventurers.
Yeah, and it was so beloved when they redid all of Pleasure Island, and like, all right, we're going to get rid of these clubs and just put in restaurants and everything. And it was so loved that, you know, merchandise like this still sells today. The Adventurers Club. I got a Kungaloosh mug, and I love the handle on it.
That is cool. You've actually, speaking of mugs, you actually have quite the mug collection, I understand. That's kind of your go-to merchandise that you like to bring home with you.
Yeah, I've got like a whole like shelf over there of tiki mugs from Trader Sam's, and this is like one of my favorites. This is just a glass hippo Mai Tai mug.
Oh, cool. From no, I was gonna say Treasure Island, but that's not right. From the Tiki Room.
Yeah, well, from Trader Sam's, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they have a number of these. I almost have the entire collection. I'm getting there.
Well, my favorite piece of merchandise that I have from a theme park actually is this right here. I don't know if anybody can see that, but that is a Bort keychain that you actually sent me from Universal Studios. Thank you so much again for that. It usually hangs right up here in front of me while I'm recording Best Darn Diddley every week. So again, very much appreciate that. You know, I wanted to talk a little bit about the new park that's being built, but at this point in the conversation, I honestly think we should just save that until another episode, because frankly, with all 4 different like sections of that park coming in, I think that we would have a lot to talk about. So with the last 5 minutes or so that we have here, What do you see as the future of Universal Studios, both both of the current parks that exist?
Aside from the Velocer roller coaster being built, I don't see a lot as of right now, and that's more of like an industry-wide situation. I know that the opening date for Epic Universe has been scratched. They were planning on 2023 opening, and now they're like, nope. Okay, we're gonna. We're gonna.
Oh, I didn't realize it had been pushed back that far. I thought it was still on boat or on board for the next couple of years.
It was until about March of this year, and then everything.
What happened in March of this year?
Some people came in from out of town. I don't know, and they decided, like, all right, we're just gonna hold off on a release date. And matter of fact, I think they've put like construction of the entire park on hold, which is really sad because I work across the street from that where they're building it, and every day so far I've been coming out like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I look across the street and I just see empty dirt field not getting worked on.
That's a real bummer, especially once they get to that point where they've kind of gotten it started. People start to get excited about it. They want to see it.
Yeah, and just to make you feel a little happy, when I walk around the parks, I use this messenger bag, and I've got a couple of pins on it, and I wanted to show that when I go, one of the pins that I wear on the inside.
Hey, I know that show.
Best darn diddly pin. So every time I go to the parks, I bring you with me. Every single day.
I appreciate it. I didn't realize I needed a season pass, but I'm glad you're just smuggling me in. That's really cool. Well, I mean, we obviously live in like kind of a crazy time right now, but like I had every intention this year of going back for, I believe it's the 30th anniversary of Halloween Horror Nights this season. And if things work out, that still might happen. I'm not positive if that's going to be possible or not, but I've been to the 20th anniversary of Halloween Horror Nights. I went to the 25th anniversary of Halloween Horror Nights. And even though they broke my heart by getting rid of the Bill and Ted's excellent, Halloween review show or whatever it was that they would do every year, I still was really hoping to come back for the 30th anniversary. Is that something is there any talk right now if that's going to be affected? Is it still at this time all steam ahead?
Right now, there's no official word. I think Universal's holding off, and I'm worried for HHN 30 because Disney just canceled Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which is a big deal.
They canceled it officially?
Yeah, that's been canceled for this year.
Yeah, that's not a great sign.
And because that brings in so much business for Universal, I'm sure they're chewing their fingernails. They're like, what do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, that's a real bummer because that's such an incredible event. I already have plans in the works to do a episode here on this platform about scare acting in general, and I'm sure we're going to talk about Halloween Horror Nights, and actually would be happy to have you back to pitch in on that if you want to join in the future on that. But that, honestly, of all of the events I've ever been to, Halloween Horror Nights is the absolute favorite one I've ever been to. It's just they do such a good job of retheming the entire park, and in some ways it's downright impressive when you are there during the day walking around and you can see little parts of it that are like covered in cobweb or maybe blocked off a little bit for covering the scary parts. But they essentially what they would do to us is my holding area was Duff Gardens, which was a real pain in the ass to have to spend an hour there. But you were literally just kind of locked in Duff Gardens for an hour while they got the park ready. But when you walk back into the theme park that you just spent your entire day at, it's like an entirely different place. And for 30 straight years, they have a threaded storyline that goes through all of their mascots and all of their characters. And it all ties into this like insane asylum and this orphanage. And it's such a beautiful constructed Halloween event. And I can't wait to go back to it, man.
Yeah, I really hope it happens this year. I look forward to it every single year.
What was your highlight year? Like, first of all, how many of the years have you been? We got a minute left. So how many have you been, and what was the best?
I think I've been a total of 5 times, and I've been the last 3 years. And the very best was probably 2 years ago with Slaughter Cinema was my favorite house. It was a original house.
That's cool. Is it just based on like the idea of like 1980s like slasher type of killers
and like all the B movie tropes you can think of.
I love all the original houses or like the themed houses like Freddy versus Jason or Saw or all the cool ones they've done, but sometimes their originals are actually the ones that really stand out.
Yeah. Ghostbusters was awesome. Stranger Things was
I
awesome.
heard that was good. I didn't get to see that one.
Oh, I absolutely loved it. It was great.
All right, Bob, where can everybody follow you online?
Make it real simple. You can find us on Twitter at Cretans Guild, and there's a link there that'll take us to like all our podcast players and videos and everything. You can find everything right there on the profile.
Oh, real quick, we're a little over, but I'm going to say go for it. Don here asked the question, what are the parks doing for COVID? We talked a little bit about that at the top of the podcast, or the top of the show, but like your 10, 20-second answer, Bob, what's going on for COVID?
Universal is staying on the game. They want people wearing masks all the time. SeaWorld, it's the wild, wild west. They don't give a damn what you do. That's why I will not go to SeaWorld. Disney, I don't know. They'll open up in a couple of weeks, and we'll find out.
So Universal is open early, but they are at least taking it seriously.
They're taking it very seriously. Every attraction I went on, I got the hand sanitizer. They wanted me to wear a mask at all times. They are not taking chances. They're doing good. There
you go. Thanks so much for tuning in, Don. I will be back again. I'm at MrMostDaysOff everywhere online. I will be back again next week with another DFW comedian, and we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5. So in the meantime, follow Bob online, Skipper Bob. He does his theme park reviews, and he is at 8-second delay, I believe, most social media.
On Twitter, at least.
Okay, you can find him there and on YouTube. And again, I'm MrMostDaysOff, and check out the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. Right now, stick with Fandom Friday and jump over and tune in to David from Tales from the Fandom. And until next time, be cromulent to each other.